Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Comic-Con Podcast, Season 2, Episode 48, recording this on December the 7th. You have your dynamic duo, Nemesis Prime, Milton the Manimal, running the show. We got a great show today. We have a special guest as well, so we're going to get into that. But first, got to introduce my cohort. What's going on, Zach? How you doing?
Good, man. Busy day. Always good to finish the day with some comic book talk. Like you said, we got a great guest today. A lot of fun stuff to talk about. Can't remember. Did you just say recording Wednesday? We're recording Wednesday.
Yes, it is, because you are busy.
I am busy, man. I'm flying to Mexico tomorrow. Tomorrow's my birthday, and we're rocking and rolling, man. So,
see, at least you announced your birthday, and I'll remember that. For me, nobody hit me up on my birthday.
What is it? It's Halloween, right?
Yeah, it was Halloween. Like Zach and I just said, we have a great guest, someone that I've actually had the pleasure of meeting twice in 1 month this year, which is pretty wild. Someone who I've seen, a few times. He struggles sometimes on YouTube. I've seen him on the Nearing Nirvana. If you know Laura from Bird City, also part of the Lords of the Long Box, got her man right here. We got Anthony from Bird City Comics. What's going on, Ant? How you doing?
Hey guys, I'm doing well. Yeah, Laura's the rock star. I'm just the guy that does everything else.
I have a wife as well. I know what that's like.
She's prettier than I am, so it makes sense.
Yeah, but you're the behind the scenes man. You're the guy that's doing all the stuff, I'm sure. And we're going to get into everything Bird City Comics, people. If you're not already following Bird City Comics, make sure you follow them. Make sure you get some of their tons of exclusive content that they have, as well as, following the ladies all over at Nearing Nirvana. And one time we'll eventually have Laura on here. I know Laura was like, I want to come on the show. And I was like, yeah. And then I talked to Anthony. I met him at I met him at New York Comic Con. And then we also spoke at Baltimore. And, Anthony wanted to come on. And I definitely want to have, someone who's doing this online stuff, because you're not a brick and mortar store, right? You're just straight online.
No, I operate out of a warehouse space, and that is it.
Yeah. So,
which kind of sucks, man, for me, because you were out in Surprise, right? Surprise, Arizona.
Yeah.
So, and I'm in El Paso. I go out to Phoenix a lot. I got family out there, and I was like, initially, I think Laura told me you guys were out in Surprise. I was like, oh, badass, man! Like, I go out to Phoenix if they got a shop. Hell yeah, I love any place just chilling at a shop. And man, I'll come to your warehouse. I'll bring some beers. We can look at some comics and sit in a warehouse. I don't give a fuck.
Dude, I've got some news for you guys, and let me know when you're getting ready to drop it, because I will have a chill spot here shortly.
Hell yeah.
Ooh, interesting. So, again, we're going to get to learn all about Anthony, of course, here on the podcast, and then we're going to get into some articles, and of course, we end our show with what are we currently reading. So, Anthony, you've been around, Bird City, been around for a while, but let's get to a little bit to know you. So, how long have you been collecting? What's some stuff that's really awesome? And, your collection itself. I mean, you got a great wall behind you, but, what's kind of this thing that started your collecting habits way back in the day?
Yeah, so it was kind of funny. We used to go as kids. There was a haircut place my dad would take us to, like a barber shop, and a couple doors down was a comic book store. So, instead of us running around in the barber shop, my dad would give us a couple bucks and we'd run over to the comic book store and shop while he got his cut. Because we all went to the same guy. We had to wait to take turns because we liked the way he cut our hair. And that's really where it started. So, couple of comics that I started reading Blue Beetle first, because it was a dollar bin comic, and I still have my original Blue Beetle #1 that I bought in, like, what did that come out, 93, 92, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Still have it, survived the test of time, and that's where it's kind of started. It was really random. I was really into Image comics too. Like Pit was a big one for me. I loved Pit comics as a kid. The art was crazy cool. Dollar bin diving was my jam, and it went on for a few years until they closed the barbershop down, and then we stopped collecting for a while. But I'm a pack rat. I saved and I had them still, and then Bird City kind of became from this box of comics from my closet.
Nice. So what's the origin of the name Bird City?
So Laura came up with it. We were struggling. I used to make longboards, like cruising skateboards.
Yeah, fuck yeah.
In my garage, I would get all the material. I loved it, and I can't skate, so I had to make a longboard. And I've got a 52-inch like cruiser out there that fits my weight and size. I'm like, I won't fall off this. So I started making them, and I wanted to brand the longboards and make them. And so Laura's like scouring the internet looking for it. And if you go to the Urban Dictionary website and type in alternative names for Phoenix, which is where I grew up, Bird City is the alternative name. just from the Urban Dictionary. So it was the Bird City Cruiser is what we made. And that was hectic and it was more of a hobby than anything. And then the comic situation came around and she was like, use the Bird City and roll with it in comics. And I'm like, shit, I already liked it. So yeah, we kept it and rolled it into the comic name.
Nice.
Damn, that's awesome. I like that a lot. So you've always grown up in that area then? Like you've always been in the Arizona?
Yeah. Born and raised Phoenix, Arizona. We've been out in the burbs for a little bit, but yeah, still.
How were the shops out there? Like,
my favorite store, and I hated giving it up once I, really put down roots as a retailer, is there's a store downtown Glendale, Old Town Glendale, we call it, because all the buildings are brick. They got basements, which is really unnecessary in Arizona because we don't get any type of weather besides hot. Like basements are unheard of here.
Yeah, with the ground being so firm too, it's really
you got it.
Basement out there, man.
So this dude's got an old building, and he's got a basement and an upper level, wood floors, like the classic old building look, and he keeps it really well. And it's called Drawn to Comics. The owner's name is Ken. Dude's awesome. If you guys are ever out here, that's a treat for you. Go visit that store. There's boxes to dig in. He does a really cool. He puts everything out in themes. He's on point with his marketing. Like one day I walked in there and he hands me a pair of dice and he's like, roll the dice. I'm like, okay. So I roll the dice, and he had like discount codes for whatever you rolled on like a paper. And he's like, all right, when you get to the register, here's your discount. And I'm like, you're crazy, guys. It's on some random day. Like he's a lot of fun. So Drawn to Comics, downtown Glendale is a cool spot.
Oh, that's awesome. You still collecting from there, or is it just, just Bird City? Like, do you at least like go in there every now and then?
I do visit him, but it was funny because I had a pool box with him and he knows what I do. And especially when I picked up and got busy, and he actually came to me and he's like, look, man, I'm going to close your box. I'm like, why? He's like, because it doesn't feel right charging you retail for things you can order like I can order. And he closed my box. Because I felt bad. Like, I want to support my local comic book shop, but that's how cool he is. He was really like, look, I'm closing you out. You're more than welcome to visit and hang out, but I'm not going to charge you for stuff you can buy cheaper. I was like, all right, appreciate it. So, cool guy.
I've been to a bunch of shops out there in the Phoenix area. I don't think I've been to. I mean, that one doesn't sound familiar. No one with a basement, I think, definitely would have stood out in Glendale area. But there's some good shops out there, man, for sure. Justin, you remember when I was out there not too long ago and I did that like whole day of hunting?
Oh yeah,
earlier this year. Yeah.
Yep. You were like calling me up asking me for.
I had a good time, man. Because I mean, in El Paso, there's like 2 shops, so it was like fun to actually.
You get like Dreadnought Comics is really cool. Those guys are awesome. They own airsoft. They own an airsoft field too. So it's like you can go into their comic book store and they have a section marked off and they sell like airsoft guns. So it looks like an armory and comics, which is kind of an awesome combo.
There's a couple chains out there, right? Like chain comic
Samurai Comics is out here. They're kind of a chain.
Oh man, I remember Samurai. I haven't heard that name in a long time.
Yeah, Samurai's out here, and I'm trying to think who else. Surprise Comics. We have a comic book store down the street from us. Matt is the owner of that one, and I can never remember his dad's name, but his dad is one of those OG collectors where he's got like grails, and he'll go to comic book shows, and I think it's so funny because he always buys a small booth. The dad does. And he overprices all of his books because I think he's there to show off. I don't think he's there.
He doesn't want to sell them, right?
I got there and I'm looking around. I'm like, nobody's gonna pay for any of this. And then he's like, yeah, it's my dad. He does this every time. It's for like the local convention. So I think he's just there to show off what he has.
Oh my god! Well, speaking of grails, like, do you have a grail like in your collection? Are you still hunting for it?
Oh man, a grail in my collection. I mean, all the ones. I hate to sound like this, but all the ones that I really wanted, I bought. And then the ones that I really, really want, I can't afford, so I don't.
Of course, that's
yeah. I really enjoyed collecting you can kind of see it right behind me, but it's the Hulk 377, the first, second, and then the rare third printing. I wasn't gonna buy that. The ones that I have, I hunt for, and I find them in the wild. I don't like just going to that's easy, go to eBay and pay the money, but that one I found inside of a box that I bought of comics, and it was inside of a hardbound book between the pages.
Oh wow.
So yeah, it was like pretty cool. I'm like digging like this stupid book, and I went to throw it, and then the comic slid out, and I'm like, I know that color. And then I looked at it and I was like, hell yeah, found one.
That is crazy.
So before we get into a little bit like Bird City stuff, like, do people even like sell stuff to you? Like, do people sell collections to you, or you're just like mainly on the new stuff?
Nah, I'll buy them every once in a while. People do call me because my numbers are all listed, so I get calls all the time, and they want me to look at their stuff. Unfortunately, it's usually like a lot of I got some old comics, and old is like 90s Marvel stuff. And I'm like, bro, everybody has those. Like, I can knock on 3 doors down and bet that guy has 90s Marvel comics in his house somewhere. And it's, you know what I mean? So it's rare that something good comes across, and I call Laura and go hit the bank. So, but with the news that I have for you guys, hopefully they start rolling in the door and it'll be a little easier.
Ooh, okay.
Save the news for a bit.
Save it.
Awesome.
So you said you've hunted some grails, and then you kind of talked about Blue Beetle being like your first book, but like what's your go-to title? Who's your favorite character? What do you like to read the most?
Ooh. I mean, I really like I'm a DC fan as far as reading goes. I like the darker characters. Superpowers are awesome, and then people give me crap for this, but like I wasn't really heavy into Marvel stuff because everybody's so powerful. They're, a handful of guys that can just destroy anything with a snap of a finger, and you get, your Batman types. And I know Superman's always their argument. We'll go Superman. I get it. But, you get your Batmans, your Jokers, and all those types, and they don't really have the superpower. And I identify with that struggle. I really, really like the Red Hood character. I wish they would get a premium writer on him because the backstory is so unique. I even like when they redid his costume. Like, I didn't like the redone costume. I like the red helmet, and then they gave him that whole hockey mask in the front, looked like Sub-Zero or something.
Yeah.
But they gave him the crowbar that he got beat with, and I'm
cool.
like, that was a nice twist. So there's a lot they can do with it. They just haven't put somebody on it to do it.
I think, I mean, when they did the New 52, when like Lobdell came on, like,
There you go.
it was awesome. Like, I'm a huge Red Hood fan. I showed you my Red Hood tattoo. I think either Baltimore or New York. Like, yeah, Jason's like such a badass character. He's someone that's been, he was gone for so long. He was one of those characters in like the comic book world that was gone for 20 years, and
one of the ultimate dead guys who was never going to come back. Yeah,
you never really thought like you had Bucky was dead for so long. Jean Grey was like another one, and like Jason on the DC side, you're like, and he's been gone. Like, they try to like bring him back, but like weird stories. But it was never really Jason. Then all of a sudden, man, Under the Red Hood storyline came out, and you're like,
favorite.
And New 52. Like, I love Red Hood and the Outlaws. I think that volume 1 is a great read. I think it really opened up his backstory. Even volume 2 is okay, but I think Lobdell writing it, the Kenneth Rocafort art was fucking phenomenal.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's someone who he needs another title, and it should just be him.
And the thing with that New 52, like you said, Red Hood and the Outlaws was awesome, but he deserved he's since then he's had his own solo title, but like he deserves his own solo title, like you said, from a premier writer as well.
Yeah.
I mean,
they did the Sean
Outlaws
Murphy. Did you guys read the Sean Murphy? I mean, I know it's not in continuity, but that he, Sean Murphy did the White Knight, and he wrote a rendition of a Red Hood, which I really enjoyed. And I like Sean Murphy's take on the art as well. But that's a good read. But he's just, man, it's just such an identifiable character. Like, he's that guy that we all kind of are, where he's got that chip on his shoulder. He's got all this potential, and, it just never works out for him. He kind of gets just enough to keep going along, and it feels like that internal struggle with, work and job. And I'm like, God, I just get this guy. So I'm always rooting for him, but I like that he's got that dark side to him too, and doesn't put up with anybody's crap. So
yeah, so true. And I mean, Zach and I have played this game multiple times, but Arkham Knight, like,
oh, dude,
playing through Arkham Knight and then getting to the part where you find out that it's Jason, like, blew my mind. Like, straight up blew my mind. And I was just like, there was no way that it was going to be him. I'm like, this is crazy. I'm thinking it's like a brand new character. And then when you look back and all the things he says to Batman, and you're like, oh my God, it's like right in front of your face. But I love, and there's not much you can play as him. Like, you play him in Arkham Knight. So like, he's not and obviously the new Gotham Knights game is just terrible. So but at least you get to play Jason. But Jason's always been around. Like, what was Zach? You and I, we read, what was the Clown Hunter? No, Clown Hunter. Like, he has that little interaction with Clown Hunter, right after the whole end of, not the City of Bane. What was the,
oh God, it was the Joker thing, or I mean the Asylum thing, right?
Like the last Joker story, like the whole punchline, like 90 to 100 after the City of Bane. And like, Zach and I thought like, he was going to take Clown Hunter underneath his wing and like kind of have him, like almost as a sidekick, or just kind of like someone to take, because even Clown Hunter's backstory is that he's violent, and Jason's seen that. So yeah, oh god,
That would be
want
so awesome. And then they kind of that went by the wayside, man, right? Like they haven't came back to there. I think Clown Hunter's currently in that Batman Incorporated title with Ghostmaker.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
that
But
kind of
that's
was
where
a
DC
bummer.
gets me bad. DC throws me off with that crap. With though, I mean, think about how many new characters they gave us from that Punchline era,
Right.
and then it's like, then what happened with Punchline? I mean, I think she's coming back, and they're gonna give her a new solo, but it's, I don't know.
It's pretty decent, actually. I was kind of I'm kind of with you, or I was with you on that as well, where I was like, oh god, knock off Harley Quinn. But Punchline is actually kind of developed to be a pretty kick-ass character, whether it was in that like that. What was the title? Justin was in the back. Was it Back of Batman, the miniseries with her and
It was side stories of Joker.
yes.
the end
Oh
of the
yeah, that's
Joker.
right. That was really good. And then the Punchline Gotham game is actually pretty decent. It's actually really good. I'm enjoying
Yeah,
Well,
it.
then what they give us Miracle Molly too, and
Oh yeah.
yeah. She
I mean, they went on like a little run to see
the
what would stick.
Gardener. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, right. There was a bunch of them. They had all those. They had all those designer variants as well during that time.
All those new villains that they tried to recreate. And they recreated the Scarecrow too. I was like, oh my gosh.
Well, I mean, if you're gonna try it, it's the Batman titles to try it with, right?
They're villains, dude. Their villains kill it. And I was thinking about you guys had me thinking about and I love that they had Yasmin Putri on all the variants for that. Was it up to 27, 30, something like that? Those cover Bs were killer.
Yeah, they were pretty badass in that Red Hood run. I think I still have some of them like in grade, ready to get graded like that. Yeah, there's that one where he's like battling Batman, still in the old costume.
Yes,
phenomenal.
I'm gonna say something maybe moderately controversial, but man, you look back now on DC, and at the time maybe it wasn't like so well thought of, but bro, New 52, that was a great era. Like, I loved the New 52, and I feel like people kind of shit on it back then, and then still kind of like, whatever, New 52. But they did something completely right with that New 52. Like a lot of those titles, a lot of those side characters who hadn't got like a lot of attention, they crushed it with that.
Oh yeah.
Were you a big reader in New 52?
Really, I have Batman 1 through 100, New 52, every variant, the complete run, and 98% of it's signed by Greg Capullo.
Oh, nice.
Dude, he hated me when I rolled up with that short box.
He's just like, God damn it.
I looked at him and I was like, look, I can leave these with you, or we could set up a time, but you are definitely signing every single one of these.
Oh my God.
And he was cool about it. But what was I gonna say? I think DC also got really kind of sideways when they started doing all the event books. Like they got really heavy into event books, which don't get me wrong, I like the Dark Knight Metal series. I thought that was pretty dope. And then what's the second one called?
Oh, Heavy Metal,
Death Metal, or Heavy Metal, or whatever it was. They lost me there. But.
Yeah, it was just way out there. Like the different versions of the characters were just wild.
It was also too heavy on, like they really hit gold with Batman Who Laughs, and then they decided we're just gonna ride that to the end, dude. Like that was a little too much Batman Who Laughs.
Right. Yeah.
So let's kind of get into the Bird City talk, man. So, you're the owner of Bird City Comics. Again, if people don't know, please check out birdcitycomics.com. Check them out on Instagram. We briefly talked about, so you got the name. We got how, Bird City, the name got there. But like, how did this all start? Like, obviously you're not a brick and mortar store. You're only in a warehouse. What made you decide to, and I know you do this full time, like just
sure.
Basically, almost like quick cold turkey on a drug and go into another drug.
You want the origin story now?
Yeah.
So a lot of people, I have this on, I think it's on my Facebook profile, but the whole business was started with my son, Adam. If you guys haven't seen any of our like Whatnot shows or whatever shows we're doing, yeah, we're super random. Like, don't get me wrong. We try to stream on multiple platforms, and it's kind of, there's no rhyme or reason. We're just live randomly, and he's been helping because my dude can talk, and people enjoy him. But he had a hard time reading, was struggling with reading, refused to do it. And I'm driving in the car with him, and I'm giving him, the dad speech. I'm like, bro, reading's important, blah, blah, blah. You got to make sure you're doing that. And he's like, oh, what do you read? I'm like, you ass. So I just happened to see a comic book store, and I'm like, all right, I read comics. So we pull in the parking lot, we go in, we buy like 10 or 20 comics. I let them pick out a bunch of stuff. And there was a pizza store right next door. So we grab the comics, we go and order a whole pizza, and him and I eat a pizza, and we read probably I want to say close to the whole stack of books we read there while we ate pizza. And then it became a tradition. We would go to the comic book store once a week, pick up new issues because he wanted to continue reading. And I was trying to teach him, new issues come out weekly typically. And we'd get a pizza. And that was our routine for months. Well, the comics started to add up. And Laura's like, Laura lost it. She was like, no, you need to get rid of these or find a space for them because they're everywhere. He wasn't taking care of them yet because they were readers. They're out of the bags and boards. They're all over his room. They're on his bed, on his desk. They were everywhere.
They got pizza grease on them.
Yeah, I was thinking that's it.
Fingers on them. Yeah, you got it.
Pepperoni in between the pages.
Yeah. And then he found my old box of comics, and I went through this really weird phase between like 13 and 15 collecting where I started collecting the death of characters. I just thought it was a cool thing. They weren't expensive, and I would go in the shop. I'm like, anybody die this week? And he was like, yeah, here's the
it's like the Marvel throw a dart. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And it was like that too. He was like, I think I even have the death of Blue Beetle was one of my ones when it dropped. That was the little thicker square bound. So then he got really into that, and he wanted to start collecting death of characters. So he's got a cool little collection of character deaths. And he turned it around, man, that my boy can read like nobody's business. He's a straight A student now. He's actually gifted, which is weird for me to have like smart children. Like, don't get me wrong, like people are intelligent, but they like having smart kids, they think different. And so, yeah, then that's where it started. So then, go to the old eBay, and I'm like, I got to get rid of some comics. And we started selling them, and some of them started going for more. And then I started to learn that, depending on what happened and what you bought, when you bought it, it starts to go up. And we kind of just started from there.
And then you had the whole like online thing, obviously, because, starting a brick and mortar is tough as it is, Well, the overhead is crazy. I don't care where you're at, and whether you're here on the East Coast and the Midwest, Southwest, the West Coast, like overhead is crazy. So, I think that's the way that it's done now. A lot of shops are just online, and I think it's perfect. And I've known from experience just with dealing with you guys, even prior, way prior to us knowing each other, going just on Bird City Comics, you guys drop exclusive variants. You do the weekly stuff, right? You do your weekly polls, you could do FOC, everything's on your website, right?
Oh yeah. We load it all up there. I'm trying to think what else. Oh, I'm trying to get into pop figures. That's been fun.
God, dude.
I know.
What do you want to do next? You want to get into heroin? What other kind of stuff do you want to get into? Like,
dude, that's what it feels like. Like I got
that's
dude,
the worst.
I got a whole box of Japanese Pokemon cards. I don't know what I'm supposed to do with. Like
Justin.
See, there you go. But yeah, it's insane. Like you're right. It's such a gateway. Like there's so many different alleys to go down and see where you end up.
Yeah, see the wall behind you is what happens. You just start slabbing everything, and then it becomes your displays. Like that's
I see a lot of room over your right shoulder where a bunch of pops can go.
And oh my gosh, don't even get me started on that one, because like Laura threatens me daily. Luckily, again, we got some new situations. She's like, you can't have another hobby. Oh my god, because when I go in, like, I don't know if you guys are this way, but when I go into a hobby, I'm in.
Yeah,
like I buy what I need to buy to do the hobby correct. I don't half-ass nothing. And she knows that about me. So like even the PC, once I started building custom PCs, she hates it. Like every 5 years, I'm like, computer feels a little slow. She's like, oh, I'm gonna start getting computer parts at the house. I'm like, yes, you are.
That's how you got to do.
That's cool, man. So I was looking at your site. I'm really excited about some of these exclusives you got coming out, man. Your Last Ronin, the Lost Years, those ones look really sick, dude. I was a big Last Ronin fan. I know Justin was too. Am I seeing some John Jang ones?
No, we did in Hackley and PJ did a cover for us.
Okay, yeah. Dude, those are awesome.
I know Jang did do one, and I liked Jang's. Ivan Tao is a good friend of ours, and he floated me some art that he really wants to become a cover for a Last Ronin cover, and it's pretty badass. But I think he published it on his IG. And I hit him up and I'm like, can I buy that from you? And he's like, if you turn it into a cover, he's like, I'll give it to you. Yes.
Ooh,
So I've been talking to IDW, see if we can get like an issue 2 going, because we already did issue 1, and use that art hopefully, because I really liked it.
nice. Speaking of exclusive variants, what was your first exclusive that you've ever did with Bird City?
So our first, Laura, do you remember our first exclusive variant we did?
Yes, it was that Marilyn Monroe.
Oh, that's right. Who does those? White Widow and
yeah.
Were we just talking about that, Justin?
Yeah, I was just talking about that because I just sold the 1 to 6
I
on,
make-
on
Right.
Whatnot.
Yeah.
I make boys cry.
I Make Boys Cry and White Widow. Those were
Yep.
our first intro into
Mhm.
exclusive, because I'm like I'm a measure 50 times and cut once guy, which is super annoying for a lot of people in this house. They don't like that. Like me to hang a picture frame on my wall, like a simple nail in the wall will take me like 50 measurements before I actually put a nail in the wall. I'm just weird that way. And
my
so I was like, let's go low print run, let's go easy, let's get
Yep.
some janky artists. Let's figure it out. Use this as a book to figure it out.
Mhm.
And it went terribly. Like people bought it,
Really
they
Mhm.
support us, but like all the things you don't think about, and that's why we started with that. But as soon as I had it down, I was like, all right, appreciate the White Widow stuff. We jumped right into our first Marvel book with Greg Horn, which was nuts. We did Punchline #1.
Mm.
And Greg's
Oh.
really cool.
I'm trying to think which one that was.
He called it Blood Money. It's the one where she throws the $100 bills in there and she's blowing the kiss and Harley's face is all over it. I don't even have those on my website anymore. Those are so sold out. You're gonna have to eBay look those up. But it's and then so there was a cover A and a cover B. We did the distracted boyfriend meme, where he's looking over his shoulder.
Yeah.
So Punchline's walking, Joker's looking over his shoulder, and
Oh, I'm looking
Harley's
at it
getting
right
ready
here.
to hit him with the hammer.
Yeah,
So
that's
that
cool.
was our A and B cover, and then the cover C, I got him to do the whole homage to his whole money throw.
There's both of them right there. Did you find it?
If
Justin?
you look at the signature too, he wrote Greg Horn, and he put after Greg Horn. And
Yeah,
Marvel
we'll
gave
put
us
it in
so much
private.
crap about it.
Here you go, Justin, in private
Or
chat.
DC, I'm sorry, not Marvel, DC.
Check this out real quick. I'm trying to think. But yeah, like it's so funny that I was just talking about White Widow. Oh yeah, that's right. I've seen him do another one. I've never seen the Punchline, like just the meme one. I've definitely never seen that one. But the other one where she's blowing the money, I've definitely seen. Yeah, it's so crazy. We were just talking to White Widow because I just had a Whatnot sale like 2 days ago, and I was doing like indie stuff, and someone actually asked me, they're like, "Oh, do you have any White Widow stuff?" I was like, "Actually, I do." Like because I'm like I was a big Zenoscope guy, so I'm like all those artists from like the Zenoscope side, like I love them. So then like White Widow came out, like Tyndall, DeBalfo, any of those guys, Ali Garza, like I love all them. So it was just randomly that someone asked me if I had them, and I was like, "Yeah, I got a 1 to 6." Like, and I love Boys Cry too. Like, I had that like little tie-in, so it was like perfect. I go, here, let's do an auction on this. So, but the Bird City stuff, like, I mean, you went from obviously you got to start somewhere, and it doesn't pan out the first time, and I think people should know that it's your first book is never a hit. Like, it's never going to be like if you hit it out of the park, like that's like hitting lottery. You got to get a couple in. You've done a few without a doubt, and then you find like that first one, like that everybody knows you guys from the 8 billion genies, right? I think that's like the go-to for everyone. And now you're like the king of the Nintendo homage, and I love it because like the video game stuff is like perfect.
Oh, it's so much. It's all about the nostalgia. I can tell you this. This is the hard part of doing exclusive art is the idea in your head that's like brilliant. You're like light bulb and oh my gosh, I'm gonna make so much money. It's still a 50-50 shot because I did 100 or so other exclusives leading up to Genies before that one nailed. And I'm like, oh, that's what that light bulb moment is. We had a couple sellouts prior to that. I don't know if you guys remember the Department of Truth 11. Laura did it was a Zoo Orzu cover. It's stunning, and Laura guided
she's great.
Oh man, she guided her completely on this concept all the way through, and we sold out of that, crashed our website. But you get known as an exclusive retailer when your books do well aftermarket, and so sellouts are great, but when your books are going for $500, $600, $700 raw and stuff like that, that's when you're doing it right. And we it took us a while to find our voice. I tell people, to be able to create a cover that people want to buy. Because I was making covers I liked. I was doing concepts I liked, and we did
Mhm.
okay. And as soon as I started thinking, like, okay, not what I like, but what would
Right.
people like?
Appeal to
It
that.
was
Yeah.
ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That is tough,
exactly.
man, because it's like, like you said, you're doing the things you like and what you think is going to be cool, and then I'm throw out like a random suggestion, but like there's something out there that like is just hitting, and you're like, man, that's kind of whack. I don't know why people like that, but then you kind of like it. They like
Right.
it, so I might as well make one as well. You go all in on it.
Now it's
Yeah.
completely true. I did a bunch of them, and I'm like, this is going to be insane. And I drop it, and I'm like, shit. Well, I was wrong on this one. And Laura's had a few like that too. She gets really nervous about input on concept art because she's super artistic. Like Laura likes evergreen pieces. She likes original art.
Mhm.
And as much as I appreciate those things, it's just not where we're at right now. The industry is about homaging and
Yeah.
remembering a better time of collecting and reading and feeling youthful, like the Darkwing and the Darkwing
Gargoyles.
Duck that's going to drop. People are going to go nuts because we grew up watching those.
Yeah, that's just wild. Like, I that's actually the first time I've ever heard that. Like, how you say that it's all about homages and remembering the old times. Like, I feel like it's not, in a way, it's kind of like played out. Like, I guess like I love, like, there's certain homages that have never been done before, right? That are amazing, and then there are ones that are that in the middle of the road where they've been done a ton, and some hit and some miss. Like, I think what's coming for you guys, I think is interesting, and I think that'll do well. But then there's variants that just, like, when do you decide, like, what if it's gonna work? Like,
or too much, like you said, like the ASM 300. Like, I mean, how many
I
ASM
was
300
just about to
homages have
say
there
that.
been? I mean, it's got to be like the most homaged cover of all time.
And think about it like this: everybody that, or not everybody, but majority of people I've talked to, they don't not like them, but they don't like 300 homages because of
Right.
how many that there are. Here's the funny thing: if I take 8 Billion Genies issue 7 or issue 8, and I do a ASM 300 homage, I'm gonna sell out of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, they're still gonna buy it because we're sorry, my pug's in attack mode. We're capitalizing on, again, the nostalgia and completist, man. There's so many people in this industry that are like OCD and they just gotta have them all.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
just make a play on that. Which I'm not gonna do. If anybody's listening, there's no 300 genies homage.
Some dude's
You
like,
heard
"God
it first."
damn it,
Kinda
I'm
funny,
gonna have
right?
to buy that ASM 300 now.
Oh,
That's a
that's
good
too
idea. I
it's
need
too
to make a
good.
note.
But yeah, I guess like nostalgia reasons. Like, I mean, I love that, more Nintendo ones are coming out. Like, or Super Nintendo. Like, you guys did. Obviously, one of my favorite ones, and this is just because I'm a huge fan of it. But when you guys did the Alice Ever After, the John Jang, like, that was like wild. Like, just like the
Yeah.
Cheshire Cat, like engulfing, like it was like Alice,
She was
and then
wearing
like
it like a
the
moon.
yeah, it was just such a great cover. Like, I remember seeing that, and I'm just like, yeah, I need this. Like, without a doubt, like, I need this. And it's just like, that's more on me. Like, it may not be for everybody, but that's what it is. Like you may have thought about it. Like, it could have been like you're thinking about it because you want it. So, or you could be thinking about it, or maybe other people are going to want it. And that's what it is. It's always a hit or miss. So I think you guys have always been doing it very well. Like, you guys are changing it up every time whenever you come out with a variant. You're not like some online retailers that literally have the same artist and the same
Right.
pose and the same book
Yeah.
week after week.
Yeah. Well, it's a premium product. That's the thing a lot of people don't keep in, or I don't know if retailers really have that in their mind. I don't want to speak for them. This is just how I perceive the industry without having a conversation.
Mhm.
But we're asking premium money, so we need to deliver a premium product.
Mhm.
Don't get me wrong. I have my turds too. Where I'll put out something, I'm like, God, that did not go the way I wanted. But I
It
got
happens,
supportive
yeah.
people that come and buy them.
Yeah.
And I
Mhm.
appreciate that. But there's a lot of effort that goes into the planning of these, and I'll see guys drop exclusives just with no rhyme or reason or direction, and I look at it and I'm thinking, you're gonna ask with a straight face $20 from somebody for that,
Hmm.
Yeah.
and it just bugs me. Like with indie, especially with indie exclusives. Don't get me wrong, with Marvel you don't get as much say so. You don't get to communicate with their artists. There's no critiquing. There's, you can pass notes back and forth, but it's, you're giving it to a middleman it's much easier to get on the phone or chat directly and get your idea hashed out. So, but again, at the same time, like these guys get so stuck on just putting out a book. I've had a couple Star Wars books fall in my lap that I really wanted to do, but the artist selections that they were allowing for the book, just I wasn't going to pay for it.
Yeah, I've
And I
heard that.
couldn't- yeah. And so, but these guys will, they're like, all right, well, we'll take, whoever you got and give us a cover. And then of course the cover's not good. And then you hear all the whining on the back end from the retailer support chat rooms we have. And my cover didn't sell. And I'm like, yeah, you knew that as soon as you saw it.
You know, that kind of brings me back to like what you were saying earlier about how you're glad you kind of practiced with that first one, right? Like it was like you kind of got it out of your system. And it to me, that's kind of like a good advice to be like, hey man, don't come out the gate with like your first book being your dream book, right? And then also maybe don't try to knock it out the park. Or if you are going to try to knock it out the park with you want this artist, this design, this book, and you can't get it, don't settle for a different artist right there. Like, so I like what you're saying. I think it's good advice for if anyone's listening that might do exclusives, like be picky and be choosy. Kind of what Justin said as well, is like, don't just do one just to do one, like, do it because you think one it'll pop or because you're invested in it,
Exactly. Well, that's the thing. As a person that has a brand, that's the coolest thing to see your book show up with your logo on the back.
Right.
It's the coolest thing. When I wake up in the morning, like my favorite thing, and this is gonna sound a little vain, but I like scrolling. I like looking at my own hashtag, like hashtag Bird City Comics, and seeing who's picked up a book and snapped a picture and used the hashtag. And I'm like, oh, this is making me feel good. Start the day off right. People are posting my books, and then I get to work, and before I get into customer service emails.
No, that's Zach and I, we're trying for something for 2023, something small, something not anything crazy. We're not expecting to be anything, but yeah, like that's what it's all about. Like we've been doing the podcast now for 2 years. I just want a comic book with our logo on the back. It would just be awesome. Like I don't care if it's a 50 print run, 100 print run. Just something cool, like give it back to the community. I'm not looking to make like thousands of dollars, like 8 Billion Genies or, any of the other books that, you guys sell out. I think it's, I like that. Like, you search the hashtag and you're just like, I did that. Like that's, it's your hashtag. Like,
there's nothing vain about that either. I mean, that's the same as like checking your analytics on who watched the views of your podcast or but that's good business sense too. I mean, you have to like, hey, am I getting any traction here? Or do I have a hashtag Bird City Comics and there's 5 hashtags for it? You know what I mean? Like, okay, I'm not doing something right. I gotta change it up and do something different. So
no, totally makes sense. I was gonna say Laura had a picture of me, and I don't know if she posted it or not, but it was the first time I ever made any type of hot 10 list. And we've been putting out books for a while, and we've had some sellouts, other ones, and then when the Genie book hit, and I got probably 50 messages the next day going, do you have any more of these? Do you have any? As soon as it hit and people started like hitting me up for them, I'm like, all right, what's happening? And then I saw us on a hot 10 list. Like I kind of just stared at it for a little while, and it was such an accomplishment. Like even if you don't believe in it and believe in it, just to have other resources just talking about you without knowing them personally, it's a really cool feeling. But yeah, you nailed it, man. Like don't settle if you're gonna do it. You guys get the artist you want, get the concept you want. Again, I'm giving you the insider, but Laura and I have a meeting once a week. Like her and I will go out to dinner, we'll sit down, we'll talk business, and we've passed on books that are really good titles. We just couldn't get what we wanted,
right?
And we don't want to settle anymore. And
that's for the outsider, and even for us, for our listeners, it's perfect you coming on here and kind of explaining it to people. So, like you said, like, and I kind of know this a little bit because I've talked to I've talked to retailers about how like Marvel will send out a list of like what comics you can do an exclusive for and what artists are available for that. So it's like, even though I would love to do like a Star Wars #1 or, any High Republic, I wouldn't be able to get the artist I wanted. And I'm not even like, I wouldn't even be able to give them a pose. Right. It's just like, they're going to take it and they're going to draw something. And I have to be like, okay, I guess this is my variant, right?
Right. Yeah. No,
very much.
That's not worth it. In my opinion, it wouldn't be worth it for one, the emotional investment and the monetary investment as well, to just get something that you have to settle for. And then you got to kind of like, what sucks is you may see the book and be like, God damn it, dude, that's kind of garbage. And you got to like promote it. Like, I can't think
Oh,
about.
yeah.
We've talked about shitty titles of like books that I've read, and I'm like, God, imagine having to promote that book, and you know in your heart that's a garbage book, but you have to promote it because that's yours.
That's such a cool and crazy true statement that you just said, because I think I've thought it, but I've never said it out loud. But yeah, it's really hard to say with a straight face, like, and stand behind something that you look at and you don't even like yourself.
Yeah.
Like, Hal Lauren is one of my good buds, and he did a bunch of books for me. I don't know if you guys remember, but I was doing a run on like Goosebumps homages.
I'm looking
Mhm.
at it right now. They're awesome.
Another
yeah.
thing I grew up with, and he did Vampire Breath homage for Bloodstained Teeth, and he did nothing wrong. It was exactly the way it should have been. I just didn't like it. I don't know. There is just something wrong with it, and it's old average. And my supporters there, and the police picked it up because I was hitting on a niche. And people are like, "Oh, do you like this cover?" And I'm like, "Yeah, it's cool. Hal's great." And they're like, "But do you like the cover?" I'm like, "Hal Lauren's the man. He cranked out that piece." And like, I just couldn't bring myself to be like, "Yeah, I'm in love with this thing," because I wasn't.
Mhm.
Mhm.
It hit the point, so I guess it was fine. But yeah, there's been some times where I couldn't really stand up and be like, "Check me out, I'm awesome. This covers, my baby."
The speaking of the Goosebumps theme one, I'm looking at the Ice Cream Man 27, the Tony Fleeks, where it's just like perfect, like Night
Perfect,
of the
right?
Living Dummy. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
flashback to Night of the Living Dummy Goosebumps, so just because of the puppet thing. Yeah, that I think. Yeah, dude. What was the book fair? The Scholastic Book Fair Goosebumps. Well, that was
Oh my
life,
God,
man.
yeah.
That was life. Getting
Bro, I
the
was trying to
Goosebumps
explain to
book.
my kids. You remember it used to have like a card at the back, and then you could like check off the books you wanted,
Yeah.
and you put like a cashier's check and throw it in the mail,
Uh-huh.
and that's how we got them. And my son's like,
Mhm.
"You did what?" Like, yeah, bro, there was like a checklist, and you put a check in the mail, and you had to mail it, and they'd get it, and then they'd mail you your books. And he's like, "Couldn't you just go online?" I'm like, "Oh my God,
Oh boy, things the
no, you
kids will never
couldn't."
know.
Yeah.
Right. But that's what made it fun. So I was trying to get people to remember those times.
Oh my God.
Coming back to
Go ahead.
sorry, a quick question about the 8 billion genies. Like, did you have I mean, like honest, real talk. Like, did you think this might be the one? Did you have any inkling like this might pop? Or was it kind of like, hey, this is a cool cover. Let's try this one out. And then it was like, holy shit, this one really fucking hit somehow.
So, kind of. So I have like a point system. This is another really weird thing of mine. I won't give you all the secrets, but when I decide to do a cover, it's got to hit on a couple different levels. It's got to look interesting, and when I look at it, if I don't, I'm automatically have some ideas on what I could do with it. Then I kind of just roll it to the side and put it on my maybe list. And as soon as I saw it, and I was like, okay, we could do a lot with it because the genies take the form of the person that they are, I guess, genieing for. I'm like, all right, that's kind of cool because then if I wanted to do an homage, I can make the genie look like whatever I wanted it to look like. So I was like, okay. Then you see the creative team, um, and then my big indicator was, and this is a funny one. I always ask, I go, how many are being done? And my guy John at Image, he's pretty cool. He'll always say less or more than a number, but he'll never tell me the exact number because he can't. And so
Mhm.
he's like less than 20. And I was like, okay, so less than 20, that could be anything because you get into like the Stray Dogs thing when there was 80 or 90 covers of
Mhm.
those, which drove me completely nuts.
Yeah.
Oh, the dog
Um,
days, not the original one.
Dog
Just
Days, yeah, volume 1 and volume 2, and that's what I'm saying. A lot of guys like, just to backtrack for a second, a lot of guys try to jump on that book because they thought, oh, I'm going to make a ton of money off these Stray Dogs books because everybody else is. You're not going to make your money competing against 80 other people unless
Yep.
your idea is one of the top 10.
Right.
Mhm.
So a lot of people missed on that, and there was a lot of really negative feelings about that book, not because there was anything wrong with it, just because there was so many people in on it trying to make their mark, and it just didn't work out. But circling back around, once I heard that the number was low, I'm like, okay, so people are sleeping on it. The creative team is pretty nice, and there's a lot we can do with it creatively. So then I sit down, I start thinking, and it's funny. I have an old NES, and my kids are binge playing all the Marios. They at first they were like, "This is stupid." I'm like, "Yeah, all right, give it a couple levels." And now they're just like flying through this game, and I'm like, "Wait till you guys get to Super Mario 3." And then I was like, "Whoa, wait a second," because 3 was my favorite, like everybody's.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So then I just started pulling up images, and I'm like, dude, the colors on this are gonna work. Trish is amazing at layout. Like, she made that thing look legit. Um, And she put the whole Mario thing together. Like, I didn't even understand that they look like each other until she told me that's why he's wearing the suspenders. I'm like, you made it look like Mario. How'd you get away with that? She's like, that's what the book's about. I'm like, I should probably read the PDFs they send me. I usually just flip through them real quick. Like, I don't read. I'll just kind of scroll through and just see if anything pokes out to me. But I was like, yeah, I should probably go back and read it then. And yeah, she knocked out of the park.
It's awesome.
What's before we get into at least one of our articles tonight, what's your favorite of all the exclusives you've done, whether they failed or they're hits?
Ooh, one of my favorites.
Because then I'm gonna go.
Oh, I like the. I know, right? I like. Oh, let me look. Oh, the Greg Horn did a what was it? Miles Morales for me, and cover C was Gwen holding the plush Peter Porker.
That was you guys? Damn, I
Yeah.
remember that too.
Nope.
I didn't know that was you guys.
Hit Justin's love right there. It's hard.
Wow.
Right?
I didn't know that
that's
was you guys. I love that cover. I know exactly. Yes, I know.
That's my okay. I don't know if this is weird or not, but I got a thing for blondes. So Gwen is my Laura superhero character. So
Okay.
when we modeled it, it's kind of funny. Greg was like, is it weird that I went on your wife's Instagram and I used like this picture? And I'll have to show you guys like another time that he used a picture to model Gwen's face a little bit from the side profile.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's one of my favorites because he used a picture of Laura to try to like sculpt it out when he started to make it. Because he didn't want, I told him, I said, dude, if you're going to do it again, because his original was Black Cat.
Yeah.
And I was like, I want you to do this cover, but I want you to make a Gwen, do the Peter Porker, and change the face. I don't want the exact same face because people pick up on that. So,
yeah. Damn.
That's cool. I'm looking at it right now.
Yeah, I know that. I know that 100%. Yeah, because I've actually had Greg sign that, and I love that cover. Damn, I can't believe that. I've never. Is the logo on the back too? Because I've just probably never turned around. I probably never looked at the back cover. So
yeah, our logos are on the back of those. Indie book wise, I'm trying to think. I did the Stray Dogs #5 was really cool. There was an It homage.
Oh, I love it. It's like my favorite of all time.
That one was cool. And then the trade paperback came out, and that was the first Goosebumps book we did, and that was one of my favorites because it also glow in the dark.
I remember when you guys when like Laura and the team announced that.
Yeah,
working with Trish. And I know it's different. Like obviously the variance is crazy. I'm a huge variant guy, so I've seen all like the crazy print runs, and obviously you get so many. But I guess my last question would be like, do you own some of the original art for your stuff?
I did. Department of Truth, and I have the original art for that one. But it's Department of Truth, and I was on this artist for a while, and he kind of just disappeared on me, or I had to keep using him. But his name was Ricardo Drummond. And he did a Department of Truth for me, and it was an homage to what's that? The Freak on a Leash. Why am I blanking? Corn. It was the Corn followed the leader, the little girl hopscotching off the ledge. Do you guys remember that one?
Oh hell yeah!
Hell yeah, dude! You're talking to two rockers, man.
Perfect shit. So that comic is a Bird City Comics exclusive. The one was the lady in the red dress at the end of the ledge looking back, and the little kids have the masks that match like the characters in the book.
Oh damn!
That was one of my favorite covers of all time. And then he did 2 Day of the Dead covers for me, one for Department of Truth, one for Ice Cream Man. If you've ever seen those, and I have the original art for those.
Yeah, that gets pricey. So I can imagine like getting into the variant game because I'd be like, I want every one. I want all my original covers. But yeah, I like Freak on a Leash. Yeah, you're talking to two rockers here. Like Korn was my shit back in the 90s. So
bro, my son knows the all the lyrics to that song because I'm a big hip hop guy, but I did a lot of like competitive sports, and I don't care. Rock music is the way to go when you're getting pregame for anything.
Right, for sure.
Like, yeah. So I had it on a playlist. It was a song I always remembered. And so he does a competitive jujitsu, and there's a couple of hip hop songs, but he's got that on his playlist, A Freak on a Leash, to get him going. And he gets to that part where it's like, and he starts shaking his head. And I'm like, he's at that part. I already know it in his headphones because he starts bobbing his head around, and I'm like, okay, he's about to get turned up.
Oh shit, that's funny. That's funny. Zach, any more questions for Anthony before we kind of get into our what are we
I mean, I could
currently
probably come
reading?
up with more, but we should probably move on. Yeah.
We could sit here all night and,
Yeah,
and talk
we could just
like
chat.
everything. Because we always like to keep it to a nice cool hour around there. So
Sure.
of course, as you all know, listening to the podcast, we always end our shows with what are we currently reading. This is finally the final month of the year. This, I think, was a big week, right, Zach? I think it was a good amount of stuff this week.
It was a lot this week.
You want to start off with what you're currently reading?
Yeah, I'm wondering if you and I are going to pick the same thing.
I
think we are, dude.
One book at least.
Okay.
So you go ahead.
I'll talk about one that the one we're not going to share. I think I'm really enjoying, and this didn't come out this week, but I think it just came like recently for me. Is I'm really enjoying the Vanish with Donny Cates and Stegman. Like, say what you will, I've liked Cates quite a bit. I did think that, like, as a writer, like, the Venom high, and then it was kind of like everyone acted like everything you touched was gold, and it wasn't.
Yeah, we talked about Hulk last week.
Yeah, Hulk, or even crossover, I wasn't too big on, but I've really, I love this story. I like this idea of Vanish. It's like almost like a weird, dark Harry Potter kind of like theme to it. Like these kids went to school. The main guy murdered this dude. Now he's in the universe, and the bad guys are pretending to be good guys, and it's awesome. The art's great. The story's awesome. Really enjoying Vanish. Trying to think what else I read this week. I didn't get to finish all my books. Go ahead. You go next.
Yeah. So for my honorable mentions this week, we have, of course, Dark Web #1. Finally, that's something that we talked about.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Bringing back and just the whole. Oh, actually, and you and I literally just talked about this, right? How did we say how Hallows Eve was probably going to be some stupid old character from the old like Spider-Man, and it's not like a new introduction of a character. It's just going to be some old character that they're going to make a villain, and that's exactly what it was. But Dark Web was really awesome. The whole, again, Ben Reilly and the Goblin Queen starting their run. You get the little bit of the Spider-Man in there, and then you have a little bit of the X-Men in there. So I think the Gold Goblin's in there, and then you also have Venom in there as well. So I think that kind of like was a good introduction. Dark Web #1 starts in this whole new event for Spider-Man and the X-Men crossover. My other honorable mention, which it's surprisingly that Ant brought this up, but I like the Blue Beetle graduation day this week, man. Like, I became a real big Jaime Reyes like from watching Young Justice, like season 2. Like it really helped me grow into that character. Like, and then ever since he was on there, like I went back and like I read like the New 52 stuff, and then he was gone for a while, and now he helped out. He helped out a little bit in the Dark Crisis storyline. But yeah, I thought this was a cool pickup because we just got teased last week with the Blue Beetle poster at CCXP. So the movie's coming. They're getting people like trying to learn what Jaime Reyes is all about. So honorable mention definitely goes out to the graduation day. I thought it was a great little, I think it's like it's going to be like a 6-issue miniseries, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. And then final issue, and I'm sure this is the one that you thought I was going to be taking, was Do a Power Bomb.
Oh my God, dude. It was so good.
Final issue, finally. If you have not been picking up this series, go ahead and grab all 7 issues. I talked about this I guess like 7 months ago now that they started the series, 6-7 months ago. Like, not big into wrestling anymore, but picked it up and just couldn't put it down. Like, I thought it was just a great series. This issue, obviously I'm not gonna give too much away, but this issue they wrestled God. Like,
dude, I got in my feels, man. Like, I got a little
yes,
choked up
the
at
ending,
end,
yes,
dude.
yeah.
It was so good, man. That was a great suggestion by you, and every issue was awesome. Like, it wasn't like any issue kind of dragged at all. It was just this issue, like, same thing. I don't want to like spoil anything, but like when they were doing the moves, right, and like the announcers in the background, like I'm reading the pages, and I'm also like, I watch a lot of UFC, and so I'm thinking I can like picture what's the guy's name, the Necroton or whatever, the
Necromancer guy, yeah.
Like him going like, oh, it's like I'm in my head, I'm reading it, and I'm picturing Joe Rogan as someone's getting like, choked the fuck out in like UFC. It was like perfect.
Yeah, definitely a great read. So if anybody, please check out Do a Power Bomb from Image. Great story, great story for whether you're a wrestling fan or not, but I like really enjoyed it.
Right.
And our guest, Ann, what are you currently reading? Any old titles, new titles? Something that's
So,
popped your
a
interest.
recommendation for a book that's not out yet because I get the PDFs for
Oh.
exclusive opportunities. But there's a book Tony Fleece is writing, and Tim Seeley. Is it Tim Seeley? Tony
I
Fleece
Tim
is a
Seeley.
co-creator for it.
Hmm.
But he's writing a book called Local Man, and
I heard about this. I think did he give
uh-huh,
an ash can away
he was giving away
recently?
ash cans of this. Yeah, so you guys got the tidbits, but basically it's super cool. Think like Wildcats, like old Image, like superhero theme, and this guy's like a disgraced
yeah.
character. But
Mhm.
it gives you that 90s superhero image vibe.
Oh yeah, his helmet looks like straight out of Rob Liefeld, bro.
You got it. It's super
Yeah,
Liefeld.
it's like Rob Liefeld like created it.
And I read it, and it's oh man, it's really good. But that you guys gonna have to wait on that one. But make sure you put it on your list and get that book because Tony's not limited to just writing dog mysteries. This thing is solid,
Oh,
and
yeah.
it's super creative too. Like you read it forward one way, and then you flip it over, and you read it in reverse as a whole
Oh,
separate theme of book.
Huh.
nice.
So it's like two stories in one. You read it forward, and then you read it backwards.
Oh
I don't
yeah, I'm
use the
just
word
checking out on
guillotine to
Image's
describe it like
website.
When does
Yeah.
that drop? When's that come out?
February.
Okay.
February.
February
pre-ordered yet?
22nd. Yeah, so it's actually it's in this month's previews. It's in this month's you can order for February. So anything else?
And then one more book for everybody to look at, and I got to read this one ahead of time too. But Sins of Sinister is going to be dropping here soon.
And it's good
there-
because I'm a big X-Men guy, man. Is it good?
dude. And Doctor Sin or Mr. Sinister was my favorite toy when I was a kid. You know, you get that little action figures. You guys ever have KB Toys out where you're at?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Okay, KB Toys had the best action figures. They always had like the ones, you know, you go to the store and there's a million Cyclops. I'm like, all right, I got Cyclops. That was the place I got my Mr. Sinister from. They always had the cool ones and Gambit and those guys. And that was my favorite X-Men villain. But there are some first appearances in this thing of new characters. So
Interesting.
there's 4 new characters in this book.
Ooh.
That's all I'm allowed to say.
Justin, Local Man is actually on DCBS this month.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Yeah, because it'll be
okay.
since it's February, you get to pre-order it now. So
Yeah.
tell your
we got
tell
2
your
brothers,
local
right?
shops, your LCSs to order it up. You know, since Anthony's giving you that and the Sins of Sinister, and that's something that you and I talked about recently too. Like all the events that are coming up. You know, you were definitely interested, and I know he just did something in like Immortal X-Men. Like Sinister was, you know, kind of did something I was reading online as well. So
Yeah.
I'm
They
looking
redid
forward
his
to that.
suit, though. That's the only thing you're not gonna like. They gave him a new character design, but you'll look at a lot of the covers, and they go back to his old character design just for the cover art. But the interiors, he's got a new design, which I don't love, but he's still him, so it won't affect you that much. But if you're looking for that big shredded cloak, you're not gonna find it on the
Is
interior.
it kind of flamboyant? They've kind of made his character a little like I don't know if flamboyant's the right word, but like extra in the comics.
Like
lately.
astute, yeah.
No, like just I don't know.
he-
He even talks
kinda
about like
rem-
his style a lot in the comics right now.
Yeah. I mean, they don't for the dialogue part. Again, without trying to give away too much, he's more like he's more like a quarterback calling plays. There's not a lot of him like long monologuing where you get a lot of like of that whole vibe because of the new characters they're going to highlight. And then here's my spec. Then you guys there's another book coming called Nightcrawlers, plural.
Yeah, they're doing a bunch. It's almost like Age of Apocalypse. A lot of miniseries are coming out.
Right. And some of these character designs, they're very Nightcrawler-esque for the new characters. And then they come out with Nightcrawlers. And I'm like, and this is a one-shot. So there's my spec. Do what you will with it, but you
Nice.
It's not Nightcrawler, it's Nightcrawlers. These character designs are very Nightcrawler-esque. It's a one-shot, so they're introducing us to people. Could be something there.
Cool.
All right. Awesome. Well, again, appreciate Ant coming on from
man.
Bird City Comics.
A lot of
Again, if
fun.
you're not already following them on their social medias all over the place, again, check out birdcitycomics.com. Justin, of course, aka Nemesis Prime, this weekend and for the next week, make sure you're following me on, of course, not only my Instagram, but also make sure you're following the Whatnot. I have a ton of Whatnot shows already up and running. I will be doing Star Wars mystery boxes upcoming in the next week. I'll be at my local comic shop next Friday, if I'm not mistaken. Going to be doing a show live from Clockwork Comics and Cards in Union, New Jersey. So make sure you head over to my Whatnot Anthony, we really appreciate you jumping on here. Any last words? You can tease anything out, because by the time people are listening to this, it will be on Friday or Saturday or Sunday, whenever they listen to it. So you do all your plugs, man.
All right. Yeah. Just give us a follow on everything Bird City Comics, guys. Facebook, IG, all Bird City Comics stuff. I got a couple Whatnot shows too. Definitely support the Monday and Saturday shows if you can. That's the show dates that my 12-year-old runs the whole shebang. And I'm really just trying to get him invested in the whole thing, and he's pretty excited about that. So
You give him a
Saturdays
cut,
and
cut of the
Mondays.
profit.
Oh, he does. And we make
Yeah.
him say, so he gets 50% of it in cash, and the other 50% we put in the savings account for him.
Oh, hell yeah.
Nice.
He goes to the store. I'll pick him up from school, and he's like, come like 15 minutes after school. And I'm like, why? He's like, Kona ice truck's out front, and I gotta buy my friend some ices. And I'm like, dude, leave balling like that. You're only in 7th grade. So so the Mondays and Saturdays on Whatnot. Typically we drop books on Friday. I'm really trying to put a drop out for Friday if Disney will ever answer my email. Then we can release some images and have some fun. But other than that, yeah, everything Bird City.
Awesome.
Cool.
And of course, make sure you follow Anthony's wife, Laura, on Nearing Nirvana. The ladies over there, of course, doing their weekly shows several times a week. A great cast of females that I've met, several of them between New York Comic Con and Baltimore. Great content that they drop every week as well. Zach?
No, man, great show. Really appreciate you coming on, Anthony. Yeah, I'm looking forward to this weekend. I'll be in Mexico, but next weekend when we get back, hopefully going to have another great guest next week, talk some more comics, and yeah, man, almost end of the year, wrapping up. Like I said, we told you guys last week, give us some advice or some ideas on our wrap up, suggestions, topics, or polls that we do at the end of, I was about to say that we do at the end of every year. This will be our 2nd year. So yeah, give us some ideas if you guys got any. So
yeah, it's definitely going to be a good end of the year final recording when we talk about all this year's comics, different categories. I've even started thinking of ones in my head. So that's it for us here at the Comic-Con Podcast, Season 2, Episode 48. And we'll catch you next week, everyone. Peace out.